Hey, thanks for being in the REC experience with your host, Jas Takhar. And I'm so excited because this man sitting beside me today flew in all the way from Orlando, Florida, just to see me.
And brought you some nice weather.
Oh, you definitely did. My man, Dawood, how are you doing today,
I'm good.
buddy?
So good to see you.
So good to see you. I love the tan, man.
Time.
You're almost getting my color. You're almost there.
Catching up.
You're almost.
Catching up.
You definitely brought the sun with you, so thank you for that.
My pleasure.
You've been in real estate in Orlando for a very long time.
Correct.
You know what you're talking about. I love the fact that you've dealt with friends of mine, family of mine, and clients that I just met, because I know that you know what you're talking about, but it's not just coming from me, right? It's coming. We have a lot of third-party testimonials that say, look, Dawood and his team can handle everything from start to finish.
Correct.
And I want to talk about what's available in your market of Orlando. I love the fact that the Raptors did beat you guys in the first round and we're in the finals now. I'm just saying.
I'm Canadian too. I love the Raptors.
You are. And that's a great point, Dawood, because you have and you understand the mindset of a Canadian because you're Canadian, also American. So I love the dual citizenship. Not only because you can go fly back and forth quite easily, but you bring a lot of knowledge to the table.
Correct.
So let's start with the question I get a lot, okay? Really, like, where is Orlando, geographically speaking, in Florida?
Okay, so Orlando is bang right in the heart of Central Florida.
Okay, so center ice kind of thing.
Center ice. And the whole idea about what makes Orlando sexy is that it is the #1 destination probably in the world for the number of tourists that are coming to visit for Disney, convention centers, meetings, family vacations, and so on and so forth.
Well, and to your point about being center ice, I'm sure because you can get in and then you can get to all the other parts in Florida quite easily, right?
We have, I think, in the top 5 busiest airports in the country, we're expecting over 78 million visitors coming this year alone. We've been
hang on.
Yeah, double the population of all of Canada coming to visit one city. And we've been breaking records every single year with the amount of visitors that we have.
You talked about Disney. You talked about, obviously, there's a lot of conventions there. What else is, like, why are so many tourists? That's huge. I never knew that number, man.
So just little interesting fact.
Okay.
Before Disney came in the mid-70s, the population in Orlando was probably just under 100,000.
Okay.
Around 70,000, I think, to be exact.
Okay.
Today, we're looking at over 2.5 million people that live in the greater Orlando area.
How big is the greater Orlando area? Like,
it's pretty spacious.
So just compared to, for my listeners, who majority of them are in the greater Toronto area, a lot bigger, a lot smaller?
I would say probably somewhere between Mississauga all the way up to Richmond Hill.
Okay, so it's quite big.
Yeah,
okay.
It is quite big.
Yep.
Very spacious and definitely growing.
Okay.
And the nice thing about it is you have great weather all year round.
Yep.
And because of the geographic proximity of where it is relative to all of the other states on the eastern seaboard, you have tons of visitors coming from Toronto, Montreal, New York, because it's a 2.5-hour flight down.
Is that how much it is from? Because I've never been to Orlando. I've been to Florida. I've never been to Orlando myself. 2.5 hours from Pearson, from Toronto.
2.5 hours. It'll take you less time to get to Orlando than it would to maybe go down to Windsor, Ontario.
I know.
On the 401.
Even from my shops at Don Mills' office to the Mississauga office in a storm, it takes me longer than 2.5 hours on the 401, right? And so I totally get that. What type of properties are very popular that you're seeing right now in the Orlando landscape? So
I think it all depends on 2 things. Who the client is, where they're coming from, and how they really want to use the investment. Okay. Or how I'd like to call it, the investment. And I say that because I want to look at it from the end, so to speak.
Right.
Are we looking at it in terms of a retirement property? Are we looking at it as a vacation home? Are we looking at it as just an investment, a fix or flip? And depending on that, I think that there's a nice little pocket in that area that will definitely serve that need for that investor or person coming to buy properties over there.
I want to talk about the 2 common groups that I speak with, especially for my listenership and viewership, is as an investment and a retirement home. So I know investment, there's a lot more involved, so I want to keep that for a second. When we're talking as a retirement home, is it like, what are they generally, like, what are they priced at? Like, give me kind of a general number. What does it include? Like, does it have pools? What's the community like?
Okay, so sit back,
okay,
relax,
okay,
because I'm going to tell you.
I got my hands on my chair here, right?
This is exactly what I've dealt with every single year for as long as we've known each other.
Okay.
Every single Canadian goes, well, I always wanted to buy something in Florida.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to go about doing it. I want to rent something. I want to buy something that I can use as an investment, but I also want to use myself. And I don't want to spend a lot of money. And today you find yourself in this really great scenario where you can get, are you ready?
I'm ready.
A 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to a 13-bedroom house with a swimming pool that you can rent out on short-term vacation rental. I'm talking about 3 exits away from Disney, less than a 9-minute, 12-minute drive.
Okay.
In a amazing gated community that has water parks and lazy boy rivers and
inside the gated community.
Inside the gated community. And we're talking about price points that are starting in the mid-4s, going up to about $800,000 or $700,000 for a 13-bedroom house. But you can easily get a 5 or 6-bedroom house for $475, $450.
So the price of our 500 square foot condo
in downtown Toronto.
Amazing.
So and not to knock this investment market.
Right.
You're definitely going to be seeing better ROIs down there at cheaper price points than you would be over here.
Well, look, I think as an investor, and I definitely want to go back to the retirement question, right? And I totally agree with you, because we hear it a lot here in Toronto, right? I want to buy something and then rent it out, but then I might live in it, or my kids might live in it. As an investor, you can't think of it like that. It's because there's 2 sets of different glasses you need to wear, right? When you're making an investment, don't tie any emotion to it. Make sure that the numbers work.
Correct.
When you're looking at it from an end use, your kids might live in there, you might live in there. Hey, you might pay extra for upgrades. As an investor, a tenant doesn't really care about that kind of stuff, right? Now, going back to what you were saying with like price points of $475, does the rental income cover all your expenses?
And then some.
And then some.
And then some. So I think the best way to look at an investment like that would be, you're really buying a 4 to 13-bedroom house at the cost of your down payment.
Yep.
Because ideally what we're really trying to achieve here is the ability and the luxury for you to use the home whenever you want to, and then be able to have all of the rental income cover all of the expenses, maintenance, turns, cleans, pool cleaning, lawn cleaning, whatever, lawn servicing, all of the expenses there. You're making some positive cash flow, and you're taking advantage of the property whenever you want to.
Now, I know there's people watching and listening thinking, well, sounds good, but I'm in Toronto. How do I get all these renters, and how do I deal with all
simple,
of that? Okay.
Right? And this is how we've managed to work together really well in the past.
Yeah.
Because the great thing about all the referrals that I've worked with you on has kind of gone down the line of, I'm looking for a place, and it's been like, call Dawood. They call me up, and essentially really what it comes down to is a one-stop shop. I end up meeting them at the airport, picking them up, taking them for a nice grand tour.
And you were doing this before Uber.
Yeah, exactly.
I give it to you there like that. That was happening. Like, you picked them up in the car, brought them from the airport, showed them. I loved it.
It's like Uber super luxury as well too, all the way.
Uber with Dawood as your driver.
You don't get the concierge level service that you do with me. But anyways, so and being Canadian, I think it's really important to understand every single concern that a Canadian would have in terms of buying a property. Because it's easy to buy a property without understanding maybe some of the pitfalls that you may run into. So we set you up with an accountant. We'll set you up with opening up a bank account. We'll set you up with, a property management company if you're doing long-term rent, like buying one of the cheaper investment condos, for example, or a townhouse. Or set you up with a short-term vacation management rental company that specifically finds the tenants for you. Markets
Airbnb? Like, I know that's not the service you're specifically speaking of.
Yeah, it's think of Airbnb on steroids, because they're actually marketing a resort.
Got it.
Right? So they're marketing hundreds of homes in a community that they're trying to generate a great presence on. And some of these communities, what they've done is they've teamed up with professional football clubs in Europe and are using Orlando as their training camps and having the people actually stay, the athletes actually stay in some of these properties. In addition to that, they're also marketing it to large sporting events.
Right.
In addition to sporting events, you have golf groups that are coming down. A lot of religious holidays. You find a lot of larger families coming down. And then at the same time, the reality is nobody really ever goes to Disney anymore.
Right.
Just the immediate family. They're taking their mother, brother, family member.
It's a big trip.
And then before you know it, you're 16 people.
That's hence the 13-bedroom homes that are needed.
Yeah.
When it comes to financing, and that's obviously a very, very important topic, I want you to walk my listeners and viewers through that. How does that all work? So let's always kind of stick to that $475,000 example that we use. How does financing all kind of work around it?
So there's a lot of great programs that are available specifically for Canadians.
Okay.
I would like to think that Canadians are probably most favored as a foreign national buying properties in the United States, specifically Florida, because they have the lowest amount of down payment programs that they can put down. So a Canadian could easily, do a program at a TD USA bank with 20% down.
So I can purchase. Most of the time, obviously, it depends on qualifying for the financing, the debt service ratios, and all of that.
And it's very similar to all of the requirements that they have here in Canada.
Very similar. So it's 20% down. We can do it. Continue.
Yeah. So 20% down. They want to look at 2 years tax returns, bank statements, so on and so forth. And it's a pretty straightforward process.
Okay.
If you're looking at it in terms of a investment property, it may be 25%. But then other programs for other foreign nationals, we're looking at 30 and 40% down.
Well, here in Toronto and Vancouver, as a foreign buyer, you also pay a foreign buyer tax. And sometimes the financing is as high as 35, 40%.
But there is no foreign owner's tax over there.
There's nothing in that sense there. And you made mention earlier that the returns could be higher in Orlando. What I always like to look at it, the perspective of the actual investor, what they're trying to accomplish within their portfolio.
Correct.
Sometimes you want that cash flow, and sometimes you want higher appreciation, which Toronto obviously offers. We have the huge population coming. It really depends on what you're looking to do with all the eggs, right? And put them in different baskets. This type of investment is not for everyone.
No.
Just like a pre-construction condo and or a 5-unit multiplex or an apartment building is not for everyone. Every single case is a little bit different, right? What are we seeing kind of year over year appreciation in Orlando?
So let me go back 10 years or so.
Got it. So 10 years we're thinking
so when the
just when the
crashed,
session kind of hit. Yeah.
Canadian dollar was still at $1.35 around that time. The Canadian dollar didn't increase to above par. That came a few years later. And we definitely had an influx of tons of foreclosed properties that were coming onto the market, and obviously attracted a lot of Canadians to finally take that step to come down and purchase. In many cases, tens and hundreds of condos.
And people weren't even financing back then.
They were all buying them cash. But then, so what happened was when we ended up coming here and doing a lot of the seminars, a lot of the Canadians were like, listen, I have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cash to buy a property.
Right.
And they were buying these properties cash at the time. The financing element wasn't really there for Canadians at that point in time because of the restrictions and tightening.
And it wasn't needed.
Yeah, and
we're talking about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, right?
And a lot of people could pull it out of the equity of their property over here, or they just had it sitting
Buy
around.
a line of credit.
Now, those condos, which we're talking about 1, 2, and 3 bedroom condos that you could buy between $50,000 and call it $85,000, $90,000 at the time, have now more than doubled in price, right?
Okay.
And in that price point, you still have a lot of Canadians that call me and want to buy multiple units at between $90,000 to now $150,000, and they can still purchase that in many cases.
No, we're talking about like a 1-bedroom condo, 2-bedroom condos.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 3 bedroom condo.
Yeah.
Gated community.
Yeah.
Sometimes on a golf course.
Yeah.
I'm talking about every single amenity you can imagine, from swimming pools, gym, fitness centers, everything. Like everything. It's like country club living at condo rental prices.
Got it.
Okay, the rental market has gone up tremendously in the Orlando area over the last few years. That from a local perspective, I would highly encourage a renter to actually buy now rather than rent.
Right.
But because we have a huge job growth,
Right.
which is I think 4.7%, one of the highest in the country.
Where's that
as
coming
well,
from?
too.
What kind of, like, what sectors
So
is that
you
in?
have a huge hospitality sector,
Okay.
aerospace,
Yep.
defense,
Yep.
and Orlando is not recognized for a lot of those other sectors as well too, but they are growing. We have a huge tech boom as well going on there. There is Lake Nona, which is a huge medical village that has a number of great hospitals that is
Okay.
attracting a lot of medical talent and a lot of families moving into the area. So what you tend to find is that you have a lot of people transitioning into the Orlando area, may stay for a few years and then transition out somewhere else. So it's a very transient town.
Yeah.
So for that reason, rents are super high. You have a vacancy rate of less than 2 or 3%.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
That's fantastic.
you know, we manage over I think 550 properties, and I think on a month-to-month basis, probably have anywhere from about maybe 5 to 10 properties that come vacant that we need to rent out every so often.
Now, if there's someone listening and watching, and they have a cousin who does kind of something similar to what you do in Orlando, they have no plans of using your service, and I just know the type of person you are, Dawood. You're more than happy to give the value and give it away. And if they come work with you, great.
Yeah.
If they don't, that's okay. What's 1 or 2 tips that they should make sure that the box gets checked off, like location? Like, I want you to kind of go down that route,
So
man.
I think for a Canadian investing in Florida, for me, what I've come to realize is it's become more of a psychological checklist more than
Okay.
anything else.
Okay.
Well, what I mean by that is, okay, tell me about this investment. What kind of a rent am I getting? And from that perspective, do definitely get a tenant screened properly. And some of the services that we offer is a national tenant screening, criminal background, credit check, so on and so forth. So we know 100%, how this tenant is, and hopefully not run into any problems because
Right.
we've screened the tenant so well.
For sure.
Right?
The work comes at the beginning with the tenant. When you're a
exactly.
landlord, the horror stories that we've all heard over the years and years of experience generally boils down to that the landlord got lazy and they didn't do the checking of the tenant ahead of time.
Correct.
So love the fact that you do that. It's a national tenant
So national
screening.
credit check,
Yeah.
national criminal background, and the best part about it is we do all of the work for you, so it eliminates all the headaches. You get your statements online, everything's available to you. It's a turnkey service. I mean, I really don't talk to my landlords or
Your tenants.
I talk to my tenants all the time.
Yeah.
But my landlords, until I tell them, hey, we have a new tenant coming in,
Got
and
it.
here's the background. And they mostly say, if you're comfortable with it, please go ahead.
And they kind of leave it up to you.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Good.
So that's number one. Number two, I think it's really important to not get excited because there's so many great places to come and visit.
Don't get emotional.
Yeah, don't get emotional. And I've always made this joke about coming here. The best places to invest in Toronto always end with a hill. Forest Hill, Richmond Hill, Thornhill. I've been to all of these cities and I've never seen this hill that they're talking about. So I still don't know where the best place is to invest or, where
Right.
you should dump your money there.
Yeah.
So what I think is, when I say that, I think a lot of Canadians do come down and they see the palm trees, they see the nice weather, they see the swimming pool, and we're really talking about country club living. I mean,
Right.
you got a nice little condo for under 150 grand on a golf course, for example, and you're like, where am I going to get something better than that? But really what I want you to do is really understand the area. I want you to understand, where your tenants are coming from.
Right.
What is this property close to? Is it
Where's
close to
the
any of the
amenities?
attractions?
Yeah.
Is it close to highways? How much rent can we be getting? And when we purchase it, we want to make sure that we're obviously inspecting the property with a professional person that's coming to do it to make sure that you don't have any headaches after you close.
And lawyers
Yeah,
and
and
legals
lawyers
and make
and
sure all the I's are
taxes and
dotted,
stuff. Yeah,
T's
exactly.
are crossed. Where do my guys find you? How do they get in touch with you? Obviously, they can get in touch with me and I can make the
absolutely.
introduction, but there might be somebody who's watching on social right now that wants to connect
So
directly
the best
with
way to
you.
get a hold of me is on www.thebestfloridahomes.com.
Okay.
I can always be reached on my cell phone, 321-229-1217. I'm available. All my contact information is online. YouTube,
I love it.
Facebook, Instagram, the whole shebang. We're
Thanks
there
for bringing
everywhere.
the goods today, my
Yeah, no
man. I
worries.
really
appreciate
appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Love seeing you and hopefully do lots and lots and lots of business with you.
100%. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Love
I
it.
really love being here.
Thank you,
Always
brother.
make me feel like family.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dawood. Awesome.
Like that?
Like it, awesome.
This has been the REC Experience Podcast with Jas Takhar, an REC Canada production.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please take a second right now to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening. It means the world to me. Thank you.